CoinGecko doesn't really need much introduction, but maybe to set the scene there for people, what's CoinGecko? How did you get started? Yeah, maybe sort of start with the origin story and we'll get into it.
Yeah, sure. Happy to share. So yeah, my name is Bobby. I'm the co-founder of CoinGecko. Started CoinGecko 10 years ago, so it's a long journey in the crypto industry. I've seen the ups and downs. A little bit of what we do. CoinGecko is a crypto data aggregator. We have two products right now, CoinGecko.com and GeckoTerminal.com. So we basically track price, market cap, trading volume of cryptocurrencies. There's about 11,000 coins on CoinGecko, and Gecko Terminal, we track over 150 different chains, 11,000 DEXs, decentralized exchanges,
That's
and
insane.
close to 3 million tokens. So yeah, that's what we do. We basically help you track your favorite token.
Yeah, I mean, CoinGecko is kind of the place to go, and always has been, I think, for many years of, if you need info on a coin, like, where do you go? And it's going to be probably one of the first ones on Google, and it's one of the first places to list the data about the coin. I mean, I use it all the time. I think I have a tab that's been permanently on my browser for years or something, where it's like, you market cap, price, supply and all that sort of stuff. And you get that directly from all of these different chains. Yeah, so it depends. I mean, previously when we started CoinGecko, there was no such thing as decentralized exchanges. There was only centralized exchanges. Yeah. And we basically get the API from the centralized exchanges, put them together, remove the outliers, and then kind of do a volume-weighted average price on CoinGecko. But I think with decentralized exchanges, with the rise of smart contract platforms, Solana being one of the big ones these days, we start seeing a lot of decentralized exchanges coming up, and we start now there's a big competition between centralized and decentralized exchanges. So getting data from decentralized exchanges isn't the easiest thing. Like, there is no central party to give you an API and to help you with the data. So when we ask all these decentralized exchanges, hey, can you give us data? And all we get an answer is, just read it from the chain. So got to get some developers to kind of work on, reading data from the chain, getting it and combining the data from the centralized exchanges to kind of get the real price data for each coin. Well, and one of the problems is that this data is not standardized, right? Like you guys, when you're saying that you're pulling from centralized exchanges, DEXs, everywhere else, and we'll get to Gecko Terminal in a moment, but it's kind of like you guys are the only ones or doing the hard work. Like, someone's got to do the hard work of formatting all of this data into some common place where it resides. And I think you sell APIs and other different kind of stuff to people. But I mean, how is that as a business? Is it difficult to scale? Is it problematic long term? I mean, there's always a new thing coming out, right? So I guess your team, like, you have to have people who's ready to go on. Oh, the next L2 is dropping, or the new chain has come out. We need to support it, right? Is that a difficult problem to manage?
Yeah. So I talk a little bit about centralized exchanges first before we get into decentralized exchanges. And for centralized exchanges, we get a REST API, and then like exchanges like Binance or Backpack or Kraken and so on, they return an endpoint. And what they return is BTC/USDT, for example. Well, can't really assume that BTC, I mean, I guess you can for BTC, but you can just take any tickers, HOT or FET or STEP, for example. Different exchanges have different conventions. Yeah. Like, some exchanges refer to Bitcoin as BTC, but some exchanges refer to them in the ISO standard, which is XBT.
Yes, I was going to say.
Some exchanges have 3 characters limit, so instead of calling it USDT, they call it UST, for example. So what happens is, it's kind of a very manual process, so somebody on our team's got to like verify that, hey, this ticker, STEP, for example, refers to Step Finance, and then we got to map them and approve them. We used to kind of map things automatically, but as we see more and more tokens coming out, there were a lot of tokens sharing the similar symbol, and we end up having clashes and end up wrongly mapping things. So that's where things get difficult.
Especially on a DEX, right? Where a DEX, anyone can launch a coin. You can make 100 Crossroads coins tomorrow if you want on a DEX. But then what's the real one, right? Like, and CoinGecko, I guess you guys have to sift through or go through some process or have some criteria of like determining, okay, if there are mismatches or if there's maybe existing coins which are well known, but the data is wrong, like the supply or this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's, I mean, as much as I like to automate everything and not have people people manually reviewing things. That's not really possible because of all these situations. The DEXs are interesting because everybody is like looking at the contract addresses, but contract addresses are unique. Every different token have its own contract address. The hard part is you may have the same name but different contract addresses, and you have a lot of situations being phishing, scams, spam tokens. In fact, I mean, I mentioned there's close to 3 million tokens that we track on Gecko Terminal, but like probably 90% are spam or scam tokens. How do you separate? Because it's so easy to create a token these days. Anybody could kind of, with a few clicks, create a new token.
A few clicks, basically, yeah. Well, look, I mean, CoinGecko has been around for many years now, and that means that you've navigated many bear markets as well. So, I mean, I guess, is it different every time? Are there challenges that are new each time? Or are you just so weathered to it now that, okay, another 2-year bear market, or hey, a 2 years bull market or something like that changes how you operate as a company? Or what's been, I guess, your learning for the bear market so far?
Yeah, I think one of the things is we always, like during the bull market, you just feel a lot of pressure to kind of, because everything's growing so fast and so quickly that you always feel that we're understaffed.
Yeah.
And there's a temptation to just kind of overhire people. Yeah. But then when we do that, like we know that that's going to come biting back at us during the bear market, and as much as we can not try to do layoffs. So the hard part about scaling in crypto is that the peak and the troughs has like extreme ends. Unlike a traditional business where you can kind of predictably grow your revenue or your headcount like 10, 15% per annum, like in crypto you see like 400%, 500% increase in 1 year, and then the next year it falls down 70, 80%.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge in crypto, and always we try to maintain a large margin of safety over here, like have sufficient cash to kind of weather through the bear market, so that we just don't want to be. I mean, the idea is to be a cockroach, I suppose. Don't get liquidated, I suppose. If you're not out of business, you survive another cycle to kind of live another day. Unfortunately, we see many people in crypto have a very short-term mindset. They get too leveraged, or they just too optimistic, and then during the bear market, just can't survive and just get liquidated, I suppose.
I mean, that's what it's about. It's about survival, right? You go into survival mode sometimes, during these crazy sort of market cycles. Another thing, I guess, to compete with as well is data itself in the crypto world. It's kind of a commodity, right? In that, okay, Binance has an API, or whoever has an API, this DEX has an API, or you can get it from the chain somehow. Okay, everyone can do that, right? So how do you guys maintain relevance? And is it a case of, okay, you were just there first, and then, okay, you have a bit of a moat, or is it like I don't know, how do you think about that? Like, is it a constant battle?
Yeah. Those are interesting questions. Like, how do you differentiate yourself when all the data is available on-chain and is accessible to anyone out there?
Yeah.
So it's a question that we ask ourselves.
Because then anyone can come along tomorrow and, hey, we got a flashy new like CoinGecko thing that does all of this kind of stuff, and then, okay, now you have to compete with this new person, right?
Yeah, so there's a few things, I suppose. One is you probably have to build your community, build a niche, build something that is not available in the market. I mean, you kind of alluded earlier as well, like do you have a group of people like trying to track and add the new chains, new coins? So we kind of try to do that as well, try to be early into the game and not be late. I suppose the funny thing is off-chain data is surprisingly important. Despite the fact that everything's on-chain, everything's available, people still want some of this off-chain data, and doing that well is important as well. So yeah, those are some of the things. I think the interesting thing about crypto is that this industry is not a static industry. It constantly changes. If we just kind of stay where we are and don't innovate, we'll be irrelevant pretty quickly. So we have to constantly stay up to date, know what's the latest meta, and kind of innovate from there on.
Yeah, and it seems like the way to go is, as you said, in a bull market, you want to be making the money, and during a bear market, you want to be stashing the money so that you can survive, right? But the revenue model of CoinGecko, tell us about how that works. So you have APIs that you sell, you have all of this data of everything. You also have the Gecko terminal as a separate product to the sort of, I guess, the CoinGecko.com main page, and you have all the different stats and stuff like that. And okay, maybe you can make money on advertising or something like that. But what are the sort of revenue streams that you look at? And are you able to share like any breakdown, like what works and what doesn't?
Yeah, sure. So in summary, there are two ways how CoinGecko makes money. traditionally, we've been making money via advertising, and that was kind of like maybe the only way or the majority of our revenue source was from advertising. So CoinGecko gets a lot of traffic, a few 100 million page views per month, and a lot of crypto companies want to tap on the audience that CoinGecko has, so they advertise on the CoinGecko website. So, but in the last couple of years, we've also grown our API data subscription business. So that's been like, it's a more software as a service kind of business, and that's kind of a second way how we grow our revenue. So it's more diversified from advertising and also data subscription. We tried a couple other things as well, but some of them haven't really worked out. We used to have a premium subscription. I mean, you still have it, but hasn't really have as much traction compared to this data or advertising.
Well, and a new, I say new, but it's been around for a few years now, Gecko Terminal, right? How did that product come about? Because, I mean, you guys were known for many years of, okay, we're the web page has all of the information on everything, and then you guys are like, let's have a Bloomberg-type terminal thing. Why was that? What was the decision for that?
Yeah, one of the things that we realized is because CoinGecko takes a curated approach, like we have to list tokens on the CoinGecko website. That means somebody on our team have to go and manually edit and check and verify all the tickers. No matter how fast we try to add the tokens, we can't compete against something that adds the token prices automatically, instantly from the moment a first trade takes place on the DEX.
Yeah.
So we knew that as more and more people trade on decentralized exchanges, as we start seeing more and more people move towards DeFi, there will be more tokens created on DeFi. It's so easy to create a liquidity pool on DeFi compared to asking a centralized exchange to create a market for it. We knew that we need to build something to kind of stay relevant, and I think the decision to invest in this Gecko terminal a couple of years ago is proven true, because previously there was only Ethereum, and there was a smart contract platform and there was Uniswap as the only DEX. But fast forward 2 years later, we now have over 150 different layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, 11,000 DEXs, most of them forks, and nearly 3 million coins. And what wouldn't surprise me is we'll start seeing 1,000 smart contract platforms by the end of this year. I mean, we are talking about Solana SVM layer 2, for example. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but as Solana scale, maybe we start seeing more and more L2s or so on as well. But it's happening really rapidly on the Ethereum and the Cosmos ecosystem for now. Yeah,
I guess there's some chains that maybe you need to make a decision, like, for example, Cosmos, right? So Cosmos, it has all these different app chains. And do you have the decision where it's like, do I support all of them, or do I just have to pick some which are the most important? But then how do I determine the most important? Is it based on TVL? Is it based on users demanding it, or something like? And then you just have a team like, yo, Discord, yo, can you support this, or something like that?
Yeah, that's always a hard question. Like, I mean, there's so many different chains. In an ideal world, we'll track everything, all the chains, all the DEXs, all the tokens, but the reality is resources are limited.
Yeah.
We have to pick and choose. So generally, we choose the chains or the DEXs that have, where the users are, the one with the highest TVL, highest transaction count, trading volume, and then we have to just prioritize. It's the same for DEXs as well. Like, not all DEXs work the same. Like, for some, like Uniswap, it's very easy. We just plug and play. We can support them. But like for most of the Solana DEXs as well, we just have to, put in the resources to kind of R&D and figure out how it works to kind of get the data on chain. So it's a matter of prioritization.
Yeah, and you mentioned before, like some of the decisions around Gecko Terminal was kind of driven by a lot of the stuff happening with DeFi and DEXs, and maybe the shift towards there. Is that a shift that you're seeing? Is that a real thing? I mean, of anyone in pretty much the entire world, you're probably best suited to make that judgment, right? Because you see everything. So do you think the DEXs, I mean, what percentage of volume are they? I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but like, are you seeing more focus on that, more volume? Do you think we're going to get to a world where everyone's just trading on DEXs?
So, I mean, if we look at based purely on trading volume, I think the centralized exchanges still have a lion's share of it. I mean, if you look at perps, spot market, perps is a different story. Centralized exchanges, like perps are even way smaller on DeFi. But I think if you think about it, like if you look at
Like, I guess
crypto.
lending, like not many lenders exist now that are centralized, and I guess all of that now happens on DeFi, right?
Yeah.
So maybe there's some things that do more and...
For spot market, it's still a lot on, I think a lot of the market makers, and they drive most of the volume on centralized exchanges, they find it easier to kind of, set limit orders and kind of trade there, but maybe on Phoenix Trade, you can kind of do that on Solana, but like on Radium and so on, AMM model is kind of hard, but it's still cheap on Solana, so you can kind of do that. But I think if you look at the state of DeFi or state of decentralized exchanges like 3 years ago and compare it to where we are today, and I look at the various chains as well, like it's so much easier to trade on a DEX these days, especially on Solana, especially on a mobile wallet.
Yeah.
I think MetaMask on Ethereum on mobile still a pretty clunky behavior, but Phantom Wallet on Solana I think works perfectly, and it's cheap and fast as well. So I think I'm seeing a lot of trend of people move, especially meme coins as well. I mean, people have learned to use wallets, no matter how clunky or hard they are.
Somehow they've learned how to do it. I think it was the NFT stuff, right?
Yeah.
So everyone, at least prior to NFTs, the general consensus was, DeFi is too hard to use, nobody understands wallets, nobody understands seed phrases, blah, 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 user base never going to grow. But then like millions of people came to buy pictures of dogs on the internet. And everyone learned, and all of that NFT traction was not delivered by centralized exchanges. It was all DeFi stuff. It was new DEXs that set up. So maybe the barriers that we think are barriers are maybe not barriers. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. I think with a strong enough incentive, in this case, the chance to make money, people go through the hard path of educating themselves on how to use a wallet. Yeah. And how to stay safe online. Like, they may have to go through a few pain of like losing some of their coins or their NFTs, but eventually they learn and they get better out of it. And the best part about DeFi is once you onboard somebody into DeFi, it benefits the entire ecosystem as a whole.
I guess, so another thing that's important is customer discovery, right? It's like, how does a new person, like what I've done in the past is I might introduce someone new to crypto and I'll link them to a CoinGecko page of that coin, right? And then they'll look around and they'll see like all of these other different coins, and to them it's like, oh, there's like 10,000 different things. Are they all the same? But they're not all the same, right? And what are maybe some of the metrics that you think people should be looking for? Or like, I know you guys also like itemize things, right? So you have all the Solana tokens like tagged as Solana, right? Or all the DEXs like tagged as DEXs. So are there sort of ways that you think that maybe new people into the ecosystem, how they can make sense of seeing 10,000 different coins and trying to make a decision on, what should they look at? Because there's a lot of things competing for that attention.
Yeah, I think gone were the days where you could kind of realistically know everything that's happening in crypto. And I think these days you just have to pick a niche and then go deep into it. So it could be like Solana ecosystem and going to know, or maybe your niche is Solana meme coins, for example, and then go deep into all the meme coins that's happening in Solana, like why is like WIF a more interesting coin than Bong, for example, or why is WIF is more interesting than Pepe, for example. So I think those are the niches. Looking at categories on CoinGecko is probably a good place to start to kind of dive deeper into some of the various chains. So like we curate categories on, like we have the DeFi category, NFT category, AI category, deep in, whatever it is. There's so many categories, and it's all about picking a niche and going deep into it.
And do you guys, I guess it comes back to the questions earlier, but is there a way for you to automate the screening of that, or it's sort of manual and you guys are sort of tagging things?
At the moment, it's still very manual. We're thinking of it like, for example, like if there's an Inu in the coin name, it's probably a dog coin, for example. But I mean, coins, like how do we tag DeFi or NFT or AI? Like it's hard. You can't really tell it from a coin name. Probably have to start thinking about. There's no good ways. And I guess another important factor for growing a business like CoinGecko is hiring, right? And finding the right people. And you've been around for many years, so I mean, you're hiring and firing and these sorts of things. How do you look for someone who would be good working in this ecosystem? And what do you think? What are the qualities, or what are the type of roles that you guys are sort of either recruiting for or looking for? I think the hard part about hiring I mean, we set a pretty high bar for ourselves in hiring, and for us, someone wants to join CoinGecko needs to sort of meet these two criteria. One is you got to have the technical skills. I mean, if you're an engineer or a marketeer or a product person, you got to be good at your craft. For example, if you're not good as an engineer, there's like no point working as a software engineer in CoinGecko.
Yeah.
The second thing that's important as well is you got to have an interest in crypto. You might not need to be that deep into crypto. Obviously, being deep is better, but you need to at least have some interest. Like you probably have exchange account, you bought or sold some coins before.
Are you asking people that, like on the job interview or something?
I asked everybody that I interview, tell me about your crypto experience. Tell me how far deep have you gone into your crypto experience. And if someone says like, I don't know anything about crypto, then like, you're probably not a good fit at CoinGecko. I mean, the fact that you are applying to a crypto company, you should probably already have done some research into crypto as well. The other question that we ask as well, and I find this pretty useful, is that at the end of every interview, we have a question that we ask ourselves, does this person raise the bar? It's a yes/no question. If the answer is no, then why are we looking to hire this guy? Are we hiring this guy because we are desperate for bodies to kind of solve the problem? If that's the case, then are we making a decision that we will probably regret in a few months' time because we have a wrong cultural fit? So once we have this raise the bar question, the interesting thing is we notice that the people that we bring in, although slower, but the quality have gone up significantly over the time.
And I guess you can easily screen out if people are talking nonsense when they come and they use a lot of buzzwords. Like we've all seen, I think, in the past, crypto likes to invent buzzwords. You know, oh, metaverse, oh, DeFi, oh, this and that. And sometimes the buzzwords are real, and sometimes a lot of projects just make up new words for things and that sort of stuff, right? So I guess if someone's in buzzword city, you can easily determine that.
I mean, using buzzwords are okay, but like, what does it mean? Like, I'll probably dig a little bit deeper. Okay, if you use a buzzword like metaverse, so like, tell me more about which metaverse you've used, for example.
Which one? What did you do?
What do you do? Like, if you just know the buzzword, you probably just jam and just fumble at the question, and it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Well, look, we are about a few more minutes to go, but what are you most excited about this coming year? Is there any sort of things that, I mean, I guess we're almost halfway through the year now, aren't we? Geez, that's it's coming pretty quickly. But what are you most excited for, maybe at CoinGecko or just in general in crypto? Like, we seem to have, I guess, in the last 6 to 7 months, turned the corner of a bear market into a bull market again, which is great. And that means, like we've spoken, a few people and panelists before have said, look, numbers go up, more user base comes in, protocols become profitable and so on. But what are you sort of looking forward to the rest of this year?
Yeah, I always have this vision that anything that can be tokenized will be tokenized.
Yeah, right.
And I'm so excited to see like so many different things being tokenized now in this cycle. A lot of people are tokenizing attention, meme coins being one way of attention. We see Politify satire tokens coming out, and that's kind of like a proxy of the US elections at the end of the year. That's very interesting stuff. I think RWAs are interesting. We start seeing people tokenizing watches, whiskey bottles, and all kind of interesting things.
Do you think they would get traction? Because remember, like back in the day, maybe 4 years ago or something, people were talking about tokenizing a lot of real world stuff or like supply chains or something like that. It never really happened. But I guess we are seeing like the RWA kind of stuff, like US Treasury bills or something like that, or Etherfuse are in the audience somewhere tokenizing bonds. Do you think that this time around we're actually going to make more progress on these sorts of things?
Yeah, I think from a few years ago, DeFi infrastructure wasn't really there, so it doesn't really support. Why would you want to tokenize something, for example? But I think with the lending protocols being more mature now, let's say I have a Rolex watch, for example, that I don't wear, that I store in a, have it in custody somewhere. Well, how do I make do with it? I don't want to sell the watch. I can kind of tokenize it, and then I get that NFT or something like that, and then I put it into a lending protocol, and then I draw a $10,000 loan, which I then use to speculate on meme coins, for example. So that I think could be an interesting use case. Wasn't really possible 3-4 years ago, but now it's very possible. So yeah, that's one case. I think SocialFi and GameFi has a lot of interesting use cases. We start seeing a lot of these things coming out as well. So those are very interesting things.
Yeah, and we're at a Solana conference, I guess, so I would have to ask some sort of Solana question. But for you guys, adding Solana, I mean, you had Solana pools for many years now. Is that a focus for you guys, or are you sort of seeing that there's a lot of interest or traction in that area?
Yeah, Solana is, I think, the meta for this cycle. Like, if you think about it, everybody was on Ethereum and Uniswap trading meme coins on Uniswap like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But I think this cycle is firmly on Solana, and I mean, there's a lot of challenges on Solana data. But it's important. We have to figure out how to make this work. I mean, the interesting thing that I saw on Solana is that the retail traders are trading on Solana because the fees are low. Like, people are trading $5, $10 of coins on Solana, things that are not possible on Ethereum.
Yeah, and as well, there were some people before talking about mobile. I have the CoinGecko app. I'm sure many people do here in the audience as well. What percentage of user base is maybe mobile versus web, or is that something, are you seeing maybe more interest in mobile? I mean, because with the Solana phone, right, Solana, like, Anatoly's trying to make a bet on, okay, mobile's going to be the future. Everyone has a mobile. There's billions of them around the world. They're all connected to the internet, but often we don't do crypto stuff on them. I mean, for STEP, it's like 20% or something like that. But maybe we should be doing more. Maybe there's certain products, like maybe the NFTs are more predisposed to that. But I guess for you guys at CoinGecko, is mobile a focus area for you guys, or how do you think about that?
Yeah, increasingly over the years, we start seeing mobile gaining more and more traction. The mobile apps are a very important piece for CoinGecko. Like, we found that users who have downloaded the CoinGecko mobile app are more engaged than users who are using the CoinGecko website, for example. So it's definitely more important. I think Solana is definitely going on the right direction when it comes to UX, because I never really trade on Ethereum on my mobile. It's practically not possible, very hard to use.
Yeah.
But I can be lying on my bed on a Friday night just before going to sleep at midnight and just buying a meme coin on my Phantom wallet on my mobile. And I've done it a few times, and I love it. Yeah. It's something that I can't do on Ethereum. I wish I can do it, but only Solana could do it. And I think Solana has got the direction right to focus on mobile.
Yeah, and we saw earlier this morning, I think we did a show of hands in the crowd, how many people have used Jupiter, and probably most of people. Put your hand up if you've used some crypto thing on mobile in general. Okay, it's a lot of people, right? So I think mobile seems to be something that is the right play here. Coming up to time, but where should people go to find out more about CoinGecko? Are there, I know that you guys do like little competitions and cool little things here and there, but where should people go to find out more?
Yeah, I mean, CoinGecko.com on your website, or open your iOS or Android store and download the CoinGecko app.
Awesome, there we go. Well, Bobby is one of the legends in the space. Definitely, after this, we'll be over there, so definitely come up to him with any questions that you guys have. But thank you so much for being with us today, Bobby.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Cheers.